If you care about history the way I know this audience does, you already understand that survival isn't just about weapons, shelter, or food. It's about systems. It's about habits. And before we go any further, if this kind of grounded, no-nonsense history matters to you, make sure you subscribe to Battlefield of Survival, like this video, and leave a comment sharing which historical survival habit you think still matters most today. Now let's get straight to it. Clothing during the Great Depression was treated as a long-term asset, not a disposable item. During the Great Depression, clothing wasn't fashion, it was infrastructure. A coat, a pair of boots, or a work shirt wasn't something you replaced next season. It was something expected to last years, sometimes decades. Families owned fewer garments, but every piece served multiple purposes. Work clothes doubled as everyday wear. Sunday clothes were protected like capital. This mindset alone reduced spending to near zero on apparel and forced people to become skilled in preservation. The modern equivalent is owning fewer higher-quality garments and planning for longevity instead of replacement cycles driven by trends. Repair was a core household skill, not a niche hobby. Sewing, darning, patching and reinforcing seams were everyday skills taught early. Worn elbows were patched before fabric failed completely. Socks were darned repeatedly until no original thread remained. Buttons, hooks and zippers were salvaged and reused. This constant maintenance extended the life of garments far beyond what modern consumers consider normal. Applied today, this means learning basic sewing, reinforcing stress points early, and repairing damage immediately, instead of waiting until replacement seems easier. The financial difference over a lifetime is substantial. Fabric choice mattered more than appearance. Depression-era families understood materials in practical terms. Wool, denim, canvas and heavy cotton were favoured because they endured friction, cold and repeated washing. Synthetic blends didn't exist, and fragile fabrics were avoided outside of rare formal wear. Clothes were chosen for function first, durability second, and appearance last. A modern application is simple. Stop buying thin fabrics that look good for 6 months, and start choosing materials that can withstand years of wear, washing and repair. This single shift mirrors how wealth-preserving households thought. Clothes were adapted as bodies, and needs changed. Garments were intentionally oversized or constructed with extra seams so they could be let out as children grew or adults gained weight. Dresses were lengthened, trousers were widened, and jackets were altered instead of replaced. This flexibility reduced the need for new purchases even as circumstances changed. Today, tailoring thrifted or durable clothing to fit evolving needs, well, it really does recreate this strategy. One well-made coat, altered twice, costs far less than replacing it every few years. Layering replaced specialization. Instead of owning multiple outfits for different temperatures or activities, people layered clothing strategically. A single wool sweater served across seasons, depending on what was worn beneath or above it. This reduced total wardrobe size while increasing versatility. In modern survival or minimalist living, this approach lowers costs and honestly improves adaptability. One durable base layer, one insulating layer, and one protective outer layer outperform closets full of specialized but fragile garments. Clothing maintenance was deliberate and conservative. Clothes weren't washed casually. Frequent washing weakened fibres and shortened lifespan. Spot cleaning, airing out garments and brushing dirt away were common practices. Washing was done only when necessary and often by hand. This preserved fabric strength and colour. Applying this today means washing less aggressively, using gentler cycles, air drying when possible, and treating clothes as equipment rather than disposable items. Social norms supported frugality rather than undermining it. Wearing patched clothing wasn't a mark of shame. It was normal. Entire communities operated under the same constraints, which really reinforced practical behaviour. There was no pressure to replace usable garments for appearance alone. While modern culture pushes constant consumption, consciously rejecting that pressure restores the Depression-era advantage. Wearing repaired or older clothing without apology is not nostalgia. It's economic discipline. Wealth was protected by reducing recurring expenses. Every dollar not spent replacing clothing was a dollar available for food, tools, land, or emergency savings. Depression-era families didn't build wealth through investments alone. They preserved it by eliminating unnecessary consumption. Over decades, this approach compounded quietly. Applied today, a reduced clothing budget redirected into savings, preparedness, or skill acquisition follows the same long-term logic. These habits translated directly into resilience during crises. People who knew how to maintain and adapt clothing were better prepared for displacement, seasonal hardship, and labour demands. Clothes that lasted meant fewer vulnerabilities. In survivalist terms, this was redundancy built into daily life. A modern equivalent is maintaining gear, repairing equipment, and minimizing dependency on supply chains that can fail. The lesson here is not nostalgia, it's strategy. Depression-era Americans treated clothing as durable assets, invested labour instead of money, and prioritized longevity over appearance. These habits didn't just help people survive hard times, they quietly protected wealth across generations. If you found value in this breakdown, subscribe to Battlefield of Survival for more serious history and survival analysis. Share this with someone who understands that resilience starts with discipline. And leave a comment telling us which Depression-era habit you think modern society has lost completely.